Sarah Pochin, I was hosting Drive Time on Friday, and she was nice enough to come on to my show, whereupon I complimented her for opening up a debate that this nation needs to have. She discombobulated the Prime Minister with her maiden question in the Commons: would he consider banning the burqa? Her reason for this was, you like Europe, you love all those European countries, so you got France, you got Denmark, you got Austria, all of whom have banned the burqa. There's also many Muslim countries around the world have banned the burqa, 22 countries altogether. The way Keir Starmer reacted, you'd have thought that Sarah Pochin had proposed killing every baby in order to tackle the population crisis or something. It's like, oh, I'm not going to follow her down that line, etc., etc. But I think it's an important debate, and I think this country needs to have it, and needs to have it now. Kemi Badenoch's response was to say, well, perhaps bosses in the workplace should have the right to ban the burqa if they want. Why does she have to water everything down so ridiculously? Why hasn't she got the guts to engage what this narrative is about? What it's about is, do we as a nation ban women from wearing face covers for religious reasons? Total face covers, those awful ones that go across the nose, the ones with those. There's about 3 or 4 different forms of the ones where you can't see their faces for religious reasons. That's the question. Don't respond by going, well, perhaps bosses could think about it in the workplace. What is wrong with her? Why can't she actually engage with what this debate is actually about?
Well, I think you hit on something there where you said she's very cautious, and I don't think caution is going to get her anywhere on in terms of her political fortunes at this point. I mean, it is a really sensitive issue, and the truth was that I was a bit blindsided by Sarah Pochin raising this issue. I hadn't actually formulated my own view. And I should say that I live in the Middle East, and I, of course, am surrounded sometimes by people wearing burqas, and that is entirely as it should be in a country where that is the culture. Although I must say there are actually not that many of them in where I am in Dubai. And I respect the fact that here where I am, they embrace diversity. I can go out in a pair of shorts and a vest top, just as some women go out in a burqa. But this is England and the UK that Sarah Pochin raised this debate about. And I think it's an entirely reasonable question to ask. I actually don't think I am in favour of banning it, and that might put me at odds with some in the Reform Party. I don't really like the idea of banning things generally, and I know you're sort of instinctively with me on that, Kev.
I am.
Yeah. So for that reason, I'm a bit torn about it, because I do think that it's in the UK, it may, if not promote division, make it more difficult for people to engage with each other. But I don't want to be more strident than that, not least because I'm very conscious of how lucky I am currently to live somewhere that accepts all forms of clothing.
Yeah, you see, I mean, I'm with you. I've got so many reservations. I'm very uncomfortable about the idea of sanctioning a government demand or laying down laws and regulations about what people can and cannot wear. I mean, there are laws about apparel. I mean, you can't walk around with a T-shirt with a swastika on it. In fact, there's a law stating that you actually have to wear clothes. So there are, the idea that clothes can never be covered by state law, that's ludicrous. There are already laws about clothes. Telling people what they can and cannot wear does, I automatically recoil from that. But that said, I don't think it is a good enough argument against those who want to ban the burqa to just say, Well, you know, you don't want to go around telling people what they can and cannot wear. I mean, I've got a lot of sympathy with that. But that said, it doesn't really cover the argument. Yes, in principle, we don't want to tell anyone what they can and cannot wear. It's up to them, free country and all that. But it's not just about it's not about the freedom to dress as you want. It's about the ramifications of what the burqa means. What is it there for? So they'll also tell you, oh, very few women in Britain wear the full burqa. Well, what they mean by that is the full face off with the net. You're right about that, but you do see it. But then there's the one with the slit and then the nose. There's a lot of pretty full face coverings. And we have to ask ourselves, you know, do we just sort of turn a blind eye to that? Or do we start asking questions? You know, what is that about? I mean, first of all, there's that medieval claptrap about, like, if a man sees the skin of a woman's face, he will be consumed by uncontrollable lust and have to attack that woman. Well, I think we should dismiss that and say, well, we're not having that as a reason for why these women have to wear it. Then there's the question of whether or not they do so voluntarily. Now, I think a lot of Muslim women do this because of family pressure. They don't want to do it, but they do it. And we have to worry about that. Others do it because they're brainwashed from the age of puberty, you know, 11, 12. Their parents stick them in these things before they are old enough to make a kind of adult decision about it. So I think we have to worry about how many of these women are doing it voluntarily, and also worry about the stupid reason why they're supposed to wear these things. You know, okay, live and let live. If they want to have these stupid reasons, fine. But maybe as a Western free democracy, we have to make a decision about whether or not we sanction a religion that makes women cover their faces in case men rape them. That's stupid.
Well, I don't think it's about sanctioning the religion, which almost all of us have the greatest respect for. You know, most Muslims are not at all radical. They're quite gentle in their faith.
I meant sanction. You're right. I must say, I meant sanction this religious reason for the burqa.
Yes, yeah. But I think that, just to revert to the Kemi Badenoch point about, you know, bosses should have the right to decide. Well, there's a couple of realities there that she's not really acknowledging. I have literally never seen a woman in a burqa in the workplace, in any work setting, whether it's, you know, any interaction I've ever had in any corporate or service environment. I have never seen a woman in a burqa in the UK. Now, that might be because I don't live in Bradford. You know, there may be areas where there's a lot more burqas than there are in Oxfordshire or London or any other part. But I've travelled all over the UK and it's just not a thing. And that is probably because generally in the UK, women who are from that culture are not actually working. You know, that part of that is that they're at home all day looking after the children. Of course, I'm generalizing, and, you know, someone may want to correct me, but I would say a vanishingly tiny proportion of burqa wearing women in the UK are in jobs. I don't know what the statistics.
So in other words, Isabel, you're quite right. It's another aspect to this debate that the mere wearing of those rather austere garments, I mean, basically cut these women out of what you might classify as normal life. They can't get a job, they can't sort of socialise normally. And again, we have to think, well, do we sanction that? Do we sanction
Bosses will already exercise their right not to employ those women, and that's greatly to the disadvantage of some of those women who might actually want a job. So I think what we're both agreeing is that Kemi Badenoch's response to this is utterly lily-livered and feeble. And whilst I don't think I'm in favour of banning the burqa, and I should say again, I've got great respect for that culture and people of faith, I think it's an entirely legitimate debate to have. It's a brave thing to talk about it. And let's not forget, something like 16 countries, perhaps more, ban the burqa. And we're not talking nutty countries here. We're talking our neighbours, France, for example, Switzerland.
Yeah. And the other, there's one more aspect to this is that many of the Muslim people who support the burqa, they say it's not worth talking about. It's such a small element, and so many of them say this. These are the sort of chummy imams that come on with a smile and a joke and a hail fellow, well met. Their kind of corporate line seems to be, so few women wear this, but why are we wasting our time? So there's a kind of coordinated response to our misgivings about the burqa that I think is slightly suspicious, to be honest with you. There's a big movement within the Islam religion here in Britain to keep this, and I just wonder, what worries me about it is, do we have the guts as a society, as a country, to confront it and to debate it properly, because we haven't done it yet.
Yeah, we haven't, and it comes up very, very occasionally. And I actually remember, I think David Blunkett raised it way back in probably about 2005 or something, and he raised an issue, if I'm not wrong, with what it was like dealing with constituents wearing burqas. I think I'm right on this because I was a reporter at the time, and there was a bit of a hoo-ha about it, and then it went away again. And then do you remember Boris Johnson calling them letterboxes?
Yes.
And that caused a whole furore, and then it went away again, and now it's come back up again. I don't know. I think it's really tricky. But I don't think that people should try to shut down the conversation. It's entirely reasonable, just as it's entirely reasonable for Muslim countries to say, actually, we don't want Westerners gadding around in skimpy shorts and bikini tops on our streets. That's their call, very much so.
It's their country, absolutely.